Hi, I'm Nick Salazar. I'm here with Craig Alexander, 5-time world champion, 3 times at the Ironman full distance and twice at 70.3. Craig just set up his new Shiv. He's riding the Omega brakes now, and he's headed out to ITU Long Course World Championships in China this week. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to racing. It's been months since I've raced, so pinned on the numbers. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Anything different you're going to think about going to ITU versus being on the Ironman circuit?
Not really. I mean, it's a non-drafting race. It's, in fairness, I think since the advent of the 70.3 series, that's been more of a prestigious title. But the ITU World Long Course still has a lot of history and prestige. If you look at some of the people who've won, Simon Lessing, Mark Allen, Greg Welsh. So I think for me it was more about just the timing of the event in relation to Kona.
Sure.
3 weeks out, whereas the 70.3 Worlds this year were 5 weeks out. So I was trying to get a good last block of training in right up until now. Yeah. And also, I guess the travelling distance, in China, I'm a lot closer to Kona than I would be if I was in Tremblant. So, but for me, the main thing was just the timing. The 3 weeks, I think, is a better window for me at my age, the way I train these days. And
rather than having like a training block, a big race, and then another, 5 weeks of kind of muddled training.
You got to mix. You got to do some sort of training in that 5 weeks, so almost a mini block. And yeah, I just thought it would be easier to do one big block and then have a good hit out 3 weeks out, and also the distance. The ITU Long Course Worlds is it's a 4K swim and a 120K bike, but then a shorter run. So, with the issues I've had the last couple of years in Kona with my back, I thought that would be a good test for it. The long swim, it's similar length to the swim in Kona.
And maybe a little less wear and tear on your body for the run.
Shorter run. So yeah, that was the thinking behind it. Yeah,
got it. Talking about gear a little bit, you've been on the Shiv the last few years, been with Specialized. The first year that you came out on the Shiv, you had a world championship win, broke the course record, and took, I believe, 13 minutes off of your best bike time.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of the role of equipment and sort of shifting focus? I think maybe in years back, not to say that it's not important, but maybe that you had a sort of a renewed focus sometime around then, looking more at gear. And how's that been for you?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the evolution of the sport, and it happens in all sports. Things get a lot more serious, and I think the mentality within the industry shifts, and we went through a period there from sort of 2009 where aerodynamics became important, and a lot of the big bike companies released what they called their super bikes, and they're real improvements, they're real gains that can be made. Aerodynamics, trying to minimise your drag. Yeah. Obviously, you've still got to be comfortable and be able to sustain your power output, but within that context, you want to minimise drag as much as possible. So yeah, I mean, the first, 4 years I went to Kona, I didn't wear an aero helmet. Yeah. I guess I wasn't as vigilant with those sorts of things, and I think it was really when the big bike companies came out with their very aerodynamic bikes, or super bikes as they like to call them, that it sort of came more on my radar, and I went in the wind tunnel and saw how important it was. So 2011 was actually the first year I wore an aero helmet in Kona, and it was also the first year I rode the Shiv, and the results speak for themselves. I also had a different mentality after what had happened the year before. I wanted to be more proactive on the bike and a bit more aggressive, but for a similar energy expenditure, I went over 10 minutes quicker. So I think that shows the importance of having a great position, having an aerodynamic setup, and minimising drag as much as possible, because you're out there for 112 miles. So you want to make your job as easy as possible.
Yeah. So taking a look at this bike compared to last year, the only significant change I'm noticing, obviously, other than the brakes that we just swapped out, is that you're riding now the J-bend extensions instead of the sort of 15-degree straight ones.
Yeah, and that's a comfort thing. Everybody's aerodynamics, it's an individual thing. And 80% of it is the way the rider sits on the bike as well. Yeah. So a hand position, all those things, but it comes down to comfort. I was getting a bit of tension in my forearms, having to have my wrist in that position with the straighter bar, and I think that was sending a bit of tension up into my neck and back. Okay. So this is a much more comfortable setup, and we're not time trialing 25 miles, it's 112 miles, and then you've got to run a marathon. So you've got to weigh up everything with in the back of your mind, knowing that you've got to jump off and run a pretty decent marathon if you want to be competitive out there. So it's a setup I've wanted to go to for a while, but like anything, it just takes time to set it up, and you need a good block of time to be able to test it and train with it. It's not something you can switch out and leave for a week. And as I said before, right off the top, I haven't raced really since March. That was a good opportunity to test something different. I really like it. It's super, very, very comfortable, very, very comfortable, and I feel my power is just as good, if not better, because of that.
And so the decision to race Kona will sort of more or less hinge on how you feel in China. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 95% racing, but I haven't raced for 6 months, and obviously last year in Kona was more about getting the flat tire at the wrong time, but 2012 I had a lot of issues with my back, and they've sort of been ongoing. I've been able to manage them for the most part. They're never really an issue in the shorter races, Olympic distance or half Ironmans, but you know, in an Ironman distance event, you're on the bike longer than the whole race goes for in a half Ironman. So I just think it places a different stress on your body. But you know, I've been really good this year. I've done all the things I've needed to do. I've left no stone unturned, so I have no regrets. I wasn't meant to be racing this year. Obviously, we had some things change with our family situation. Our son didn't go to school, so we got another summer in the Northern Hemisphere. And you know, if I'm coming up to Boulder to train, I'm going to try and prepare for the big race. That's the only reason to be here. So it just made sense for me that if we were going to come for one more summer, that I would try and get in shape for that one. That's what I've tried to do.
Well, great. Best of luck out in China, and we'll see you on the Big Island.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
For more info and photos, check out TriRig.com. Thanks.